Hello and welcome to Country Outback Crafts. My name is Melanie and I'm going to show you today how I recreated the word gather that I had purchased from Dollar Tree. I had taken and painted it and added the sunflower, which is a transfer, and the transfer was a redesigned transfer. And you can Google or purchase these online. They may be out of stock. They were a hot item. I used DIY Blue Iris. I used DIY Water Lily. And that is what I used to create this one. Today I'm going to show you the technique that I used using different colors and a different transfer, only because I already have the sunflower one. Same exact thing, it's just a different color and a different transfer, but same technique. I had already painted this prior to this recording because you want to put that transfer on dry wood, and the majority of the paint was done with the white. So first what I did is I painted the entire thing in beadboard DIY. I did not paint the back, just the front. And I'm going to lower this a little so you can see how I dry brushed it. Another thing I wanted to show you is I had many questions of people asking, can you do it with a napkin or paper or decoupage it? I did do it. This was a napkin. And it turned out really good, don't get me wrong. But I used Mod Podge and I put it onto here. The thing is when you go to clear all of the holes out in the lettering, it is kind of difficult. The transfer is quite a bit easier, but it can be done with a napkin, which again, it did turn out very pretty. I like it also, but the transfer was way easier. So again, I started with beadboard, which I had already done, and I tried to explain to as many people as I could answer that I distressed it. So what I did is on this one, I did the beadboard and I'm going to distress it with Water Lily DIY. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush it on to show you how it did the distress to it. Again, dry brush. I left the string on until we're all done and complete with it. And again, I'm just dabbing it lightly into the cap and then knocking a lot of it off. I don't know if you can see, onto the napkin. And again, you're just gonna one way to make it look so it's distressed. I don't know if you could see how that looks. And you're, again, dry brush, and you're going to continue to wipe in one direction. Make sure that you just go back and forth onto it. Let me shut my volume off on this. Again, back and forth. Again, I hope everybody can see. And you can just hit in the holes or the spots where like the letters are cut in. Again, lightly. You don't want to brush it heavy. And I'm just tapping on the top of the letters just to give them a little detail. Same thing on the bottom. And that is what I mean by when I distressed it prior. Again, I hope you can see that. Can everybody see that? I hope so. And again, make sure you hit the letters on the bottom. And again on the top, just lightly. Hi, Carolyn. Again, I'm hoping y'all can see this. With the lighting in the white, it might be hard. And that's all I'm doing with that. So now it looks like it's distressed. And if you missed the colors that I used DIY beadboard, which again, I painted prior to this video because you want this as dry. At least let it dry overnight, or at least a good 3-4 hours before you apply the transfer. And the transfer I am going to use today, again, I'm not going to use the same sunflower like I did with this one because I already have a sunflower. But it's the same technique. I'm going to use this transfer. And all I'm going to do is, when you lay it out, I'm going to dry this real quick. Like I said, I did dry brush it, so it's really not bad as when you apply the full amount of paint. You're going to want to set the transfer over the lettering so you can see where your placement's going to approximately be before you adhere it to your lettering. So before I do that, and if you get the lettering or the transfer, make sure you always keep it on the paper that it comes with. It touches anything else, it's going to tack to what that is. If you go ahead and do the decoupage, again, this was with a napkin, you're fine with that. Just, you don't want to set this transfer and hit it on anything. I'm going to dry this really quick, and I'll just show you how easy that transfer applies. Anybody have any questions or comments? Please ask. And if y'all are watching the replay, just drop your comments below and I will answer them as I see them. Again, make sure this is thoroughly dry before you add a transfer. And like I said, I'm just going to line it up to where I want the transfer placed. And I'm going to put it right there. These transfer come with this stick in this kit, or when you purchase the transfers, and all you do is rub it onto the lettering. I apologize if I'm shaking the camera. And I know Dollar Tree has some really pretty transfers that they've come up with too recently. So any kind of transfer would work. It does not have to be the transfer that I'm using. If you just do a search on transfers, they have some beautiful, beautiful transfers out there. And the one, like I said, I'm using is by, I think this one is Redesign. It may be IOD. I don't have the container in front of me, but IOD does make some beautiful transfers also. Everybody see? Hi, Monica. Hope everybody's having an awesome day. Again, try not to hit anything with the transfer. I like to leave the paper that it comes with below it, in case it does get stuck on anything. And again, all you do is rub it across all of the lettering. Anybody have any questions? Everybody see what I'm doing, I hope. I'm going to trim off the rest of this stencil or transfer that we are not using so it doesn't get stuck on the rest of this paper. Again, make sure you keep it on the white paper that it comes with, because it will stick to everything and anything. When you start to peel it off, you're going to peel it very slowly to make sure that it did adhere. If it didn't, just place it back down. Hoping you can see starting. And if you could see, it's leaving, let me hold it up. It's leaving like part of the whole letter. This camera's backwards to me. We're gonna just push that down once it's done. So let it stay there. And again, just slowly pull up on your transfer. And as you're pulling it up, you can see that it is adhering. If you see things that are still on my paper, there was no wording under there. So it's not that I'm not getting that adhered. It's only sticking to the lettering that's on here. And again, if you think you see a piece that came up and should be down, just set it down and it'll go right back on there and right where it's supposed to be. Monica, this came from, I'm pretty sure it was a redesign. I can look in a bit here or post it below. Can everybody see how that's going on? If it wasn't redesign, it's IOD transfer. Again, I forgot to grab the tube that it came in. I can look at it in just a minute though. The transfer that I used for the picture that I posted for the gather, that transfer I do have in front of me, that was redesigned and it was called Sunflower Fields. I didn't want to do another sunflower because I have one, but I wanted to show you all how I created it. So I grabbed this transfer and I forgot to grab the tube to it. But I can tell you here in just a few minutes. And you can just go online and Google redesign or IOD transfers. And again, they have tons of them. You don't have to get redesign or IOD. There is so many transfers out there. I prefer redesign because they just go on so nice. I'm going to cut this part off so it doesn't keep dropping. But there's quite a bit still on the transfer, so you can always use this. The transfers do go a long way when you're doing something. And a lot of them come with 3 sheets. This one came with 3 sheets, 3 rows, and they are pretty big. So they do go a long way. You could use them for quite a few projects. It doesn't just have to be one. And I prefer getting the ones with the 3 sheets only because you can use them on many crafts instead of just one. Okay, so that's what we're looking at right this moment. I get mine from a store that's locally, and I also order from another supplier that is up in Pennsylvania. But a lot of, how do I say it? A lot of, like, not craft stores, like little gift shops or stuff like that. A lot of places like that carry DIY paint and stencils like that. I don't know if you have any around in your area, but we have a couple little, like little craft store or, yeah, craft stores that are locally that carry the DIY and the transfers. So you might want to look around if you have any little hobby and they're private. 90% of them are just private owners that are running little gift shops or a store like that. Now what you're going to do is what I did is I took an X-Acto knife on the lettering, like I said, so we could push the transfers into the letters. You're very welcome, hon. So I'm going to splice the openings in these so we can layer these lettering, the transfer in between the lettering, so you'll be able to see the wording again. So I'm going to start with the A, and I'm going to just put a light little slice in the letter of the center of the A. And I'm just going to go and tap the transfer. I'm hoping you can see me. I'm just going to push the transfer lightly onto the inside of the lettering. And it'll hear as you push it in there. And then I'm going to go ahead between the A and the T and do the same thing. And push that onto the wood into the inside. And you're going to do the same thing all the way down the lettering. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just putting it in there so it just adheres and doesn't get stuck on anything on your top portion. That's what you're trying to avoid, is make sure that this don't flap up and stick onto your top part. Just push it down into your lettering. So the transfer will adhere. Again, don't be perfect. And I'm going to put a little slice in the E. And I'm just going to tap that onto the side of the wood also. I'm going to take a little piece of the leaf and put it onto the R here. So that looks like a full leaf on that spot. So again, just take a little piece of your transfer and just rub that right back on if you want something in another spot. And that's it. Again, just push your lettering down. I'm going to cut this up between the T and the H, and I'm just going to push that onto the wood. And once I get all the lettering split, so you can see, then I like using a clean sock or a clean rag. So I'll just take a soft little sock and I'll take and rub this in between the wood, all as much as you can get spot wise, in between the lettering. And make sure you push down or press down on the transfer real good so you know it's all adhered. Again, I like using a sock because it doesn't tear your transfer. And if you see any that are still sticking up, just push down against the wood so that transfer will stick to the side. And just do that all the way down. And if you go to clear this, you want this cleared so it looks a little glossier. You have to wait at least 24 hours for the transfer to adhere to the wood, which it does immediately, don't get me wrong. You don't want to put a clear over it at least for 24 hours. So when you look back, say the next day, and it's coming up in a small little spot, you just rub it down. You just got to make sure that it all adheres before you do apply any clear. You don't have to put clear. But you do have to make sure that all your transfer is adhered in all the spots. And sometimes you'll do this. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you'll go to rub it and a little piece will fall off. It's fine. It doesn't ruin the transfer or make it look any worse, but it just pulls the bottom color that you painted underneath. That's why I like to paint the product first before I put a transfer, just in case that does happen. And it just shows the lettering, but below it, it doesn't wreck the transfer whatsoever. Trying to see if I have a piece of that rose left so you can see what I mean. If you were to rub the transfer and that happens, wherever it is, again, you're backwards to me, that happens, all you have to do is either it got stuck still on the transfer, or when you rubbed it, it came off, all you have to do is find like a spot where the flour is left, which is right here is a piece, or on the bottom, and just cut that piece out. Don't use the whole complete transfer because that transfer will stick right on top of the rest of that. Just cut out the piece that you want to use, because that does bother you. That don't bother me, but I'm just showing you in case you want to correct that problem or that look. Just take that little piece of that same flour or the same color and adhere it to that spot. And make sure you rub it down. And it's gone. And again, the one that I used, or the Gather with the Sunflower, I did cut the rope off on this because I am using it on a project that this is going to lay on. This one I did leave the hook on that it came with because I'm going to hang this on another project. But like I said, if anything, you do have to wait the 24 hours to clear it. And again, it's that easy. It was that simple. And that's exactly what the transfer looks like. Monica, are you still here? I can give you the name of that transfer in case you want that one. Monica, it was redesigned, and the name of this one was Ruby Rose. And again, this one had 3 sections also. Like I said, if you get the one with the 3 sections, it goes a lot further. So again, all you have to do is Google redesign, and then again, the name of that was Ruby Rose for the one that I just created for this one. If you're watching the replay, anybody that has any questions or comments, please leave them in the link below and I will answer them as soon as I see them. And if you didn't see it in the beginning, how it was done with, this was just a napkin and this was decoupaged. Again, this one was a lot harder to do than this was. The transfers go on so much easier and a lot quicker. Again, make sure before that transfer is applied, if you do the transfer, make sure you do wait at least 24 hours before you apply the transfer onto this, or at least 4 or 5 hours before you do go to try to apply it, because it will not stick. It'll just keep coming up. But that was the quick tutorial for today. If anybody has any questions or comments, I will answer them. And thank you for watching and have a great day. And I'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.